What was that? Is someone there? Show yourself.
Ask me who I was.
Whether you was, spooky disembodied voice, what? Why don't you just tell me?
Because there are rules you must ask.
Rules? What rules?
Oh, hurry not your words with me, Ebenezer. Ask me who I was.
It's actually Ebenezer.
What?
The E is silent.
The E is silent.
More specifically, the second E. It's pronounced Ebenezer, like Sneezer, Tweezer, Seizure.
Oh, silence, you poor misbegotten soul. Ask me who I was.
Pray tell and bless me then. Who was you?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
oh, that's a bit strong, isn't it? Partner. Yes, both our names were there in those big letters, Scrooge and Marley. But my name was first, and for a damnably good reason. Need I remind you about those blokes down in Cornwall?
Partners, Ebenezer. We were partners, tried and true, through thick and thin of it, including Cornwall.
Begone, you spirit. Rattle your chains and spew your fetid breath at another, for I have done nothing to deserve a visit from the likes of you.
Ebenezer, search your heart. You will know what I say to be truthful.
Fine. Let's say for a moment that I believe this poppycock, that you are in fact the ghost of my long-deceased partner, Jacob Marley, and not just some nightmare brought on by one of Mrs. Lovett's pies. Why have you come to visit me on this very night?
Well, may I sit?
No. No, you may
Why
not
not?
sit.
Why not?
For you are but a loathsome spirit. You have no weight, you have no mass. Dare I say, you have no ass. You have no reason to ease the ache of your dusty, decrepit bones or what used to be a derriere.
Fine. May I lean upon your wall?
A leaning spectral? Is there no end to this jest? You are but ethereal vapors swirling in the nothingness. You are a vacuum of vastness. And I should think you would be able to stand for a millennia or two without any effort whatsoever.
Well, now you're just hurting my feelings.
Hurt your feelings? I never thought I'd hear such a thing of a ghost. Far be it from me to add to your misery. Lean if you must.
This chair. Oh, this chair is so extraordinary. It's so delicate. Have you seen the scroll work around the legs?
Marley, it's my chair. I have seen the scroll work.
I suppose so. Jacobian.
My gentleman, who could mistake the simple, masterful craftsmanship, the minimalist effort of Hepplewhite for Jacobian? And what you're saying is blasphemy, man.
Don't get your britches all twisted in a whirlwind, Ebenezer. It's a common mistake, I'm sure. You know, it's not as if I thought it was a Chippendale.
Oh, sometimes you are too much. No, Thomas Chippendale's but a stripped-down version of a furniture maker. He never had the legs for it, really. I would say that Thomas Chippendale and all of the Chippendales are really nothing more than a tease.
I do remember that. But you know what? I would prefer a Chippendale as to say a barley sugarloaf. Those legs were grandiose.
All right, Marley.
Yes.
If I were to grant you a sit-down, would you cease this endless prattling?
Yes. This pattern! Vandalay print?
More Harleyan, actually.
Oh, yes, I see it now. The pattern is more of a counterclockwise swirlish as opposed to a clockwise whirlwind, as it were. It'd be such a pity to sit on something so beautiful.
You know, if I had 2 pence for every time you muttered those words while you still drew breath, I'd be even wealthier than I am.
Yes. but I really would prefer to sit.
Then sit, that this may end quickly.
You're so far away. Let me come closer. You can't talk from across the room. Who am I? Oh, jeez. Jeepers.
Is the chair haunted as well?
No, Ebenezer, the chair is not haunted. Now, you must listen to what I tell you. Tonight, you are to be visited.
Visited by whom? Should I stoke the fire? Should I put on some tea?
You are to be visited tonight, Christmas Eve, by 3 spirits. And I think they would like some tea, with a little lemon and a little sugar on the side. Oh, and some of those delightful lemon tea cakes, if you please.
Fortunately, I have some ready.
Oh, how fortuitous.
Did you say Christmas Eve?
Yes, yes.
You are aware that today is the 25th of May?
No. That can't be right.
Oh, it absolutely is, as the heat wave, which has embraced all of London, would clearly attest.
This is delightfully delicious. Ebenezer, you always did know how to brew a pot like a proper Londoner. Tell me, is this blend from the old cup and saucer?
Marley, we agreed we would never speak of the old cup and saucer.
Perhaps I did get the dates wrong. Oh no, I hope there wasn't another poor soul I was to visit tonight. Oh well, nevertheless, here I am and here you are, and you, Ebenezer, still will be visited by 3 spirits.
Does that number seem a bit arbitrary to you?
What do you mean arbitrary?
Well, why does the number need to be 3? Why not 4 or 5? Or better still, just the 1?
Oh, Ebenezer, the rules say the number's always to be 3.
Seems a bit Anglican, doesn't it?
Anglican? What do you mean, Anglican?
Well, quite a coincidence, really, don't you think? It's a bit too much on the nose.
What do you mean?
The Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. 3. The same number you say will be visiting me this very evening.
Well, they will haunt you. I misspoke.
Now it is to be a haunting after I gave you tea and cakes.
We can't really go around visiting per se, can we, Ebenezer? It doesn't quite set the proper tone, for fear and retribution and such.
Fear and retribution? Me? What have I done to deserve a fate such as this?
You are a mean and spiteful man, Ebenezer. You need to atone and change your ways.
Mean and spiteful? Me?
Yes, you. It seems the evidence that I have is quite damning.
Oh, this is nonsense. What evidence do you have? Do you have an averment to present?
Actually, yes. I was given one.
Fine. Let's get on with this then. I would like to have this matter and myself put to bed before the dawn.
Well, to begin with, what's all this bah humbug business?
What are you babbling about?
Bah humbug this and bah humbug that. It's just so untoward and unbecoming, and well, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, you come off a bit priggish when you say it. That's not a good look for you. With your skin color and your this choice of clothing as of late.
I was asleep. And bah humbug is a blessing, you twit.
No, it is not. Wait, is it?
Well, it certainly is. From the German Saxon, Bach to Hamburg. Bless me, Saint Hamburg.
Huh?
It's like saying Gesundheit.
Well, that does change things a bit now, doesn't it?
I should say that it does.
You know what? If it's German in origin, it makes sense that it sounds so mean and angry. It's almost like a declaration of war. Bah, humbug!
Wars have been started by as little as an ill-timed sneeze. I need not remind you of that.
Yes. But we cannot get too far off track here, Ebenezer. You need to atone and change your ways, because if you do not, I fear you will spend all of eternity in a dark pit of wickedness.
You don't don't mean the Fringe.
Oh, I don't mean the Fringe, Ebenezer.
Wait, you don't mean
Yes.
that I will have to spend all of eternity with Prince Albert and Queen Victoria and their ever-growing brood?
No, Ebenezer, that's not what I mean. You will spend all of eternity in hell. Really hoping for a lightning clap right there. That would have been so much more dramatic. But nevertheless, Ebenezer, you will end up in hell.
You know, I don't very much like the sound of that, but... I don't very much like the sound of that either. But I believe you have been badly misinformed. I am a most kind and giving soul.
Oh, real-o. I meant to say really, I misspoke. I don't ever recall you being referred to as a benevolent chap.
I don't relish bringing this up, but for the past 20 years, you've been quite insane.
Oh, I was not.
Mad as a hatter, in fact, yes. You've gone around the proverbial bend. I've lost track of the number of times I was called down to Bucks Row in Whitechapel to collect you when you were found wandering about.
Never, I never.
Oh, more than never. In fact, quite often, you were quite a popular chap amongst the rabble.
Look, whatever was I doing down there?
Marley, there were a few ladies employed in the area.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
Oh, yes. Well, you know what? That's all in the past, and I am, after all, quite dead. So it doesn't really matter. We need to get back to the matter at hand, because it's not about me, Ebenezer. It's about you.
What is the matter at
Tell
hand?
me this. What about your nephew and your most recent dealings with him?
What about it?
Well, just today, you said to him, and I'm going to quote you, you said, "Let me hear another word out of you, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation." And then you followed it up with, "You're quite a powerful speaker, sir. I wonder you don't go into Parliament."
I can see where that would cause some confusion had I said it today. But my nephew, of whom I am very, very fond, he has a tendency to hit the sauce a bit more than the average bloke around the holiday season. Something of an admiral of the red, you might say. And it was not so much of an admonition as it was a reminder not to overindulge. Dreadful thing, alcohol. Ghastly. Never touched the stuff myself.
I never would have thought of it like that, Ebenezer. But what about that second part, where you told him to go into Parliament?
Well, I would think that would be quite obvious. I have plans for the boy. Political plans. Office. Perhaps even Prime Minister one day. You know, I have always had the best interest of my nephew at heart, even before we lost my poor sister. You know, having brought her up, have you seen her? Is there a chance that she will come to visit?
Have I seen her, Ebenezer? What do you think? We're all in some kind of spiritual waiting room where one takes a number? A ghost club, perhaps? No, Ebenezer. I've not seen her.
Pity.
Tell me this, Ebenezer. You are a miser. What of that? You know, I do recall you came quite tight with your purse strings about the time you met that Belle.
Ha ha, Belle. Beautiful Belle. Yes, I do believe that I did take a closer look at my expenses when I started courting her. Yeah. But I had plans, you see.
Plans? What plans?
Well, plans to marry Belle, of course. But she had made it clear from the start that she had certain expectations, station, standing, that sort of thing. Very butter upon bacon she was. Yes. And alas, as a young man, I did spend much just to keep my family afloat. What with my father, indisposed as he was.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I knew that my father cared for me. But for many years, I held his inattentiveness against him. In the fullness of time, I've come to realize that he himself was a victim of the siren song of unsavory appetites.
Unsavory appetites? In all the years I've known you, you never told me that.
It's not the sort of thing one brings up in polite company, now that isn't.
Oh no, alcoholic. He was a bottle liquor.
If only. No, let's just say that my father's tastes were a bit more exotic.
Oh. Ebenezer, the hands of Big Ben are creeping ever further forward. Please tell us, what kind of chimerical whimsy entranced dear old Dad?
Cabaret.
Was that all? Wait, cabaret?
Chorus line more specifically. Yes, as a young man, my father took quite an affection to wearing women's clothing. I think the performance was all really just an excuse. He had quite an affinity for fishnets. I did get to see it with my own eyes one time, and I must tell you, he was very good. A tremendous high kick on the old man. Much more limber than he ever let on. In fact, he took top billing after just a few performances.
Do you happen to remember where he used to, strut his stuff, so to speak?
It was a burlesque club. Mimi's, I think the name was.
Mimi's? On Drury Street?
You know the place.
I may have been by there 1 or 12 times back in the day. Do you happen to remember if he had a stage name?
Well, he certainly couldn't perform under his Christian name now that could he?
No, he couldn't do that. Do you happen to remember what it was?
My father was the indubitable, the insurmountable, the inevitable Miss Kitty Lace!
Oh dear. Oh dear.
What?
Well, this is rather funny actually. It's a small world. You know what? It doesn't really matter now. No. Please, continue with your tale of misbegotten woe.
Well, my father spent every shilling on costumes, hair plucking, tweezing, tucking, dance lessons. The situation became so desperate that I needed to return home from boarding school. I needed to finish my education while working nights as a chimney sweep.
Bullocks.
Never mind the bollocks, Marley.
But still, you cast Belle away.
Cast her away? No, I gave her an out. I didn't want her to feel beholden to me, what with the plans that we had made for our lives together. But I knew my family came first, and I knew she could never see it that way. Just the thought of us getting married had driven me to the brink of financial ruin.
You're saying it was all a ruse.
Oh, it was a ruse. But it was a ruse of the worst kind, for it tore my heart to shreds.
Oh.
I did not know how to let her go, but I knew that I must. For I could not let her get her hooks into me and my family, or else we would be done for.
I'm telling you, Ebenezer, that is very sad.
Oh,
very
you
upsetting.
crying man.
No, I'm not crying. Of course not. I just caught a bit of ash in my eye or something. I'm not crying at all.
Truth be told, she was every bit of a shrew.
Exquisite Belle. It can't be true.
Oh, it is. She was a witch.
Was there something I missed?
She would jump to the left.
Well, you stood to the right.
She'd put her hands on her lips.
Over her hips.
She'd bring her knees in tight.
Must have been the sight.
A real church bell.
But she seemed so swell.
The signs were all there.
I wouldn't have dared. A chance. A kiss.
It wouldn't have been bliss. So I dropped her.
You dropped her?
The opposite of catch. Just the release.
Was she that much a beast?
A she-devil in disguise.
I thought she was a prize.
Prize, a present hardly, I dare say.
So you threw her away?
Nary a
It
thought.
was all for nothing.
It was all for show.
She had to go.
Indeed, it was a must. The relationship was a bust. Molly, You can let go now,
Oh,
Madam.
that was weird.
Now you know the truth about Belle. She eventually managed to bag herself an earl or a duke or some such. Finally got the title she had long coveted.
Oh, yes. Countess, Duchess.
Oh, heavens no. Widow.
You don't say.
Oh, I do say. In fact, she has put 3 husbands into the ground.
Oh, my. Well, it's quite the misunderstanding about Belle in this book.
Indeed so.
You know what this book also mentions, though?
Mm-hmm.
The Cratchits. What about the Cratchits?
What of them?
Well, you pay their father, your employee, a wage that's barely livable.
You don't say.
I do say. You have been very mean and cruel when it comes to Bob Cratchits.
Oh, that is rich. Oh, how you make a stuffed bird laugh.
It's not preposterous, Ebenezer. The research here says it's very clear and convincing.
Does it mention in your research the Cratchits' real name?
What do you mean their real name?
The Cratchits aren't the Cratchits, dear boy. They're a family of scammers from Kolstadt, Bavaria. They used the Moldavian kerfuffle of 1851 to find their way to England. Remember, started by an ill-timed sneeze. In fact, Bob Cratchit's real name is Bruno Cock.
Don't sell me a dog, Ebenezer.
I would not dream of it, but everything I have told you about the Cratchits and the Cocks is absolutely true.
Well, how do you know this?
Well, they tried to flim-flam me, run a scam, as it were, using their son, Timothy.
Not Tiny Tim.
Oh, the very same. Real name? Oscar Cock. And he's not even Bruno's biological son.
He's not.
Oh, he's a cousin or a nephew or some such. And this is the best part. The lad is 28 years of age.
He can't be. He's I'm just going to say it. He's so tiny.
He's a little person.
What do you mean he's a little person? What?
He's a little person, a party squatty, more specifically, a pint-sized pickpocket.
I don't believe it.
Well, believe this. How many 9-year-olds do you know who develop a 5 o'clock shadow by the noon hour?
Well, in some cases, Ebenezer, puberty can be alarmingly rapid. Take myself, for example.
Stuff it, Marley.
Yeah.
The Cocks are scammers of the first order.
A greedy, conniving family of cocks.
Those are the worst kind.
Wait, is that cocks with a C-H or a C-K at the end?
What possible difference could it make? They would both sound exactly the same.
Well, I'm just befuddled by all this. How did you fall prey to these devious cocks?
Yeah, well, I was approached in the street by this self-same Timothy. He was flailing about on his crutch and wailing like a pathetic wastrel.
And?
Oh, and as I was being waylaid by his sorrowful tale of woe, I'm lending an ear to what I believe to be a needful young lad, and I am being robbed of the contents of my waistcoat, including my grandfather's pocket watch. When I realized what was happening, I put a stop to it, and then Timothy starts to shout for all the world to hear that he's being accosted by an old man. Me, an old man, interested in buggery. Who would believe such a thing as that?
Who indeed? But tell me, how does Bruno end up in your employ?
The scandalous Cock arrives just at that moment, claims to be the lad's father, tells me unless I pay him a king's ransom, he's going to turn me over to the authorities.
And what did you do?
Well, I think it's very obvious, isn't it? I did not pay him. I was arrested. I was tried. I was convicted. I was imprisoned. And I was executed.
You were executed?
No, I did none of that. No, I set a trap is what I did. And I managed to catch the scandalous Cock red-handed. But in the process, I came to realize how many people they had victimized. So I made a deal with Bruno. I agreed I would pay him a fair wage, take him into my employ. However, half of what he was paid would be used to pay restitution to his victims. And this reason alone, is why he appears to be so destitute.
Huh. But what about his wife and all of her problems?
He's not even married.
He's not?
No, in fact, he plays both roles. Very Norman Bates, actually.
But what of the children? Peter, Martha, and Belinda. Oh, and the two smaller cocks, who for some reason don't have names. I wonder why they don't have names.
Tis a wonder. But in my experience with cocks, they don't name the smaller ones. But know this, the cocks are scammers pure at heart. They would give the notorious Fagin a run for his money.
Oh, goodness. Wow, I just broke the tail. But tell me this, what about your place of business?
What about my place of business?
You keep it so frightfully cold in the winter months. It's as if you were loath to spend any of your immense fortune on something as inexpensive as coal. I mean, all the workers have to dress in layers, and they can't even put their arms down. They walk around like a bunch of stuffed penguins. It's terrible. And I'm telling you, I'm afraid someone's going to get a very, very bad cold very soon.
Global warming.
Global what?
Global warming. This is the reason that I'm loath to use more than the bare minimum of those dreadful fossil fuels.
Global warming. It doesn't exist.
Well, it most certainly does. In fact, it's a term I have recently coined, and as such, may be the world's foremost expert in.
How can you be an expert on something that you just made up? How is that even possible?
Well, if you can find someone who has more knowledge on the material, I will gladly relinquish my title.
How can I find someone who's more of an expert on something that you just pulled out of thin air?
That's exactly my point, actually.
What?
What? Nothing. It is my belief that anyone that cares about this planet and has read their von Humboldt will be able to surmise that the Industrial Revolution is but a harbinger of the climactic devastation to be caused by this global warming.
Pish posh. Climactic devastation. I wouldn't think that you, Ebenezer Scrooge, would cry wolf about such trivialities.
But there's nothing trivial about it. Have you tried to walk the streets of London without something covering your face? In fact, I would say, if you were to go to any city, anywhere in the world, anyone with half a brain is wearing a mask of some sort. The smog of London is dreadful, deadly even. It's a virtual pollution pandemic, as it were. What we need to do is we need to focus our attention on renewable sources of energy. Take, for instance, the giant fiery ball, which is the sun. If we could somehow harness that energy, not just for our own welfare, but for the benefit of our beloved Mother Earth.
To think, you, Ebenezer Scrooge, a bleeding heart environmentalist.
That's quite true, actually. I have recently founded an organization of which I am very proud. It's kind of a League of Nations United, where I have come together with some of the foremost experts in the environmental sciences to try to stem the tide of this man-made pollution.
So generous of you, Ebenezer. I'm telling you, your character is nothing like it says in this dossier.
I agree! Which brings me to a question I have for you.
Yes.
Who's provided you with this bevy of disinformation?
Oh, well, right. I can't tell you that. I've sworn to a sacred oath, and it's not proper for you to ask, and I'm sure you understand that, old man.
I most certainly do not. To have one's good name thrown about like a limp ragdoll and then thrown into the befouled Thames, this is scandalous slander of the first order.
Oh, uncoil yourself from your lofty perch, Ebenezer. It's not proper for you to ask, even if I am a friendly ghost.
Improper to ask. Marley, this is not a request. I demand the name of the scoundrel or scoundrels who have dared to besmirch the good and righteous name of Ebenezer Scrooge.
Besmirch, slander. Oh, Ebenezer, You act as if these allegations might cause your name to be invoked any time a miserly act is performed anywhere in the world. Such pish-posh twaddle.
To hear you speak this scrolled stench, I would not be surprised if one day the miserly and cartoonishly mean-spirited ducks of Serpentine Lake are one day granted my name as some sort of an epithetic curse. The name, Marley. Give me the name.
And what are you going to do if I give you the name? You're going to seek out some kind of vengeance? Perhaps a duel at dawn? Oh yes, that actually sounds exciting. To think this visit was becoming such a bore of a chore.
Haunt.
I'm sorry, what?
You haunt, you don't visit.
All right. Well, swear.
Motherfucker. You told me to swear.
It's not that kind of swear, you twit. Like a promise, like an oath.
Oh, you need to be more specific in the future.
Well,
what?
well, do you?
Didn't I just tell you to be more specific?
Oh, Amnesia, do you swear you're not going to seek out some kind of vengeance? Should I give you the name?
I swear by St. Homework, I will not. Vengeance is not something I seek. I just seek an opportunity, a righteous opportunity, to make sure that the name Ebenezer Scrooge stays as pure as my heart.
All right. Let me see here. Hold on. Ah, yes. Dickens. It says the name is Dickens.
What? The Dickens? D.F. Dickens, the cider maker down on King Street? He is terrible. He once came out with a shrimp-infused concoction which was undrinkable. Didn't last a single day on the street. But what possible reason could he have to assail my...
No, not that Dickens. It says the name is Charles. The name is Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens.
Does this Dickens fellow have a profession other than muckraker?
No. It says here he's some sort of writer.
You don't mean Chuckles Dickens, do you?
Chuckles, Charlie, Chuck. Yeah, I see the connection. So it seems you do know him. But with this Chuckles fellow, would he have a cause to do your name such a travesty?
Possibly. You see, some time ago, this Dickens fellow, he wanted to publish some stories and he needed a loan. And I told him I would read his stories, I gave him an honest assessment, and I don't believe that he appreciated it.
Were they that bad?
They were not worth the paper for the pretty cur to piss upon.
That's a little more descriptive than I would have liked. Harsh, really.
Life is harsh, Marley. And this is what I told that Dickens fellow. I told him, it can be the best of times, but it can also be the worst of times. And for this Dickens fellow and his stories, it was clearly the worst of times. He painted a picture of London which does not exist. Bright and cheery and full of altruistic characters that want nothing more than to help their fellow man as they live their lives of leisure and art and theatre. He just kept going on and on about his characters. His characters were unnatural. They were one-dimensional, and dare I say, they lacked the real fabric of life.
Well, you know what they say, Ebenezer. Trifles make the sum of life.
Wise words, my friend. Those are the exact words that I used when I spoke to this Dickens fellow.
So I suppose that was the end of your meeting?
Not exactly, no. I suggested to him that perhaps he should investigate a line of work other than writing.
Oh, well, that was very generous of you.
Yes.
Tell me, what direction did you point him in?
You know, the sort of thing that would be right for his station and standing, you know. Yeah, the normal fare, grave robber, leech collector, theatre critic, you know, the normal sort of thing.
How did he take that?
Not well, no, not well. But I did try to make a connection for him. I spoke with that investigator fellow, Holmes. I thought, with this Dickens fellow being a man of the back alleys and such, he might be an asset.
Wait a minute. Holmes, is that the one with the two insufferable bratish boys that have those ghastly names? What? Do you remember what their names were?
Mycroft and Sherlock. Yes.
Stupid names.
Alas, he never followed up. I did try to help him by making an arrangement with one of my clients, the Lord Tit from the Office of Circumlocution. However, when I spoke with the Lord later, he said, no, by the way, Lord, fair, upper crust.
Oh, yes.
So when I spoke to the Lord later, he mentioned the conversation just went around and around, never went anywhere. It's a pity, really.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking this Dickens fellow, he was holding a grudge against you. I feel like he might have only had an axe to grind.
I agree wholeheartedly. I see you have finally come around to the truth. Do you no longer believe that my immortal soul is in peril?
Yes, I do believe that.
Very good.
But I also feel like I have failed.
Failed? How?
Well, it seems as if I had gotten you to recognize the error of your ways, I would have been let out of purgatory. I could go on to the next beautiful chapter.
A great expectation, eh?
Yes, indeed.
So whatever are you to do now?
Might I ask you a favor?
You can certainly ask.
Well, perhaps I could entice you into committing some acts that will bear out what this Dickens chap has written about you.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you go out into the streets and you steal some candy from some children. And you make them cry. That would help my cause.
I will do no such thing.
Pushing an old lady down in the gutter?
Never!
Sorry, that's a little physical. Steal a newspaper from a neighbor's stoop.
No.
Leave the seat in the loo in the upright position?
What sort of a cretin do you believe that I am?
Cut the line at the yellow venue?
Philistine! I shall do none of these things, and I shall not apologize to you because I will not.
What's happening?
Marley?
I don't know you. I don't know you.
You know me? It's Ebenezer.
I don't know an Ebenezer.
Oh, yes, you do. We've known each other forever.
You do look familiar. I do know you. I do know you.
Yes, I do.
Are we friends, Ebenezer?
Oh, we are the very best of friends, Jacob. The very best. To the thick and the thin of it.
Including Cornwall?
Oh, especially Cornwall. Those blokes never knew what hit them.
Tell me, Ebenezer, what day is it?
It's Christmas Eve.
Are you sure?
For you, my friend, every day is Christmas and every night is Christmas Eve.
I do so like Christmas.
Oh, I know that you do. Let you sleep in my bed tonight.
Thank you, Ebenezer. I'm so glad, my friends.
As am I. Molly, you were spectacular tonight. Spot on. Looks like I had the old Marley back for a little while there. You know what? You almost convinced me you were a ghost.
Really?
Yes. In the morning, I'm going to tell you how you very nearly scared the Dickens out of me.
Can we do that after presents?
No, of course, after presents. Oh, I do have another request. If that Dickens chap comes around again, I'd prefer if you didn't speak with him. You don't need him filling your head with tales like he did today.
Yes, I won't.
Swear?
Motherfucker.
Sleep well. Sleep well, my friend. This is a comfortable chair.